Welcome to the American Valor Podcast. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Captain Sean Paul Stolarski to the show. Captain Stolarski is an honor guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Captain, welcome to the show. And before we get into a lot of the conversations we'll have today, tell us a little bit about you and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you guys having me. And so I commissioned as an infantry officer in 2021, and I've served the last year in a number of different units. And in the last few years, I've spent at the Old Guard, and the past year of that has been a little over a year now. Has been at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So it's been one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, and I truly love my job, and my coworkers, which my soldiers, all share the same sentiments that I do, and their love of our mission. And I'm really excited to share a lot of that with you today.
And we love what you do. I know I have been a witness been by visiting up to DC area and witnessing that whole ceremony and the change of guard, and it's so profound and so heartwarming to see this dedication to this unknown soldier, which is, there are many there are out there through the previous wars that have not been recovered. Family have lost them. They did not return, and we've not been able to reclaim the remains. But I do appreciate all that you guys do up there at the cemetery at Arlington. And once you get an opportunity to witness that, you'll never forget it. So thank you for all that you've done. Now,
Thank
folks, at the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, we strive to educate, support, and recognize by instilling the timeless values of service, sacrifice, legacy, and citizenship. Now, Captain, based on the pillars mentioned, I would like to start today's conversation with service. What is one moment at the tomb of the unknown soldier that completely changed how you see purpose and maybe gave you chills?
Yeah. So we work with a lot of outside organizations, and in working with them has really changed my perspective on not only our job but just my life in general. And so one moment that really stands out for me is when I earned my Tomb Guard badge. So it takes about a year to get there, and it comes with a big ceremony. It's one of the rarest badges in the Army, and at the ceremony, there's typically it's run as you kind of pay tribute to the guy, and share some of their accolades that they've done over the past year, and it's typically pretty short. I For my ceremony, I wanted to do it a little bit differently, and I wanted to really highlight our mission. And I invited some family members of MIA families and some Gold Star families as well to come actually speak at the ceremony. And there was not a dry eye in the room after they spoke, and it kind of put perspective to our mission and why we do what we do. So it goes beyond this, you know, simply protecting the tomb, and we strive to be perfect in order to be the best representation of the Army for the unknowns, but for also those family members that have also suffered a great deal. And so hearing the stories of these various people who spoke really struck a chord with me, and really changed my perspective on our mission. And it was a really amazing day.
Yes, and I could just imagine the feelings, the sentiments of, and the impact of those conversations, because I served as Keiko in the military for 15 years, and so I know the in between, right? Between notification and then proceedings of making sure that the interment of the individuals that have passed away goes flawless, and you guys take the end part, obviously, at Arlington. But it's amazing that you thought of that, and so good of you to rope those folks in, they have a real deep sense of loss still. I can imagine, but having them be part of such a great accomplishment must have been something wonderful. And we have sacrifices, right? I just mentioned Keiko. I mentioned your role at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. There are sacrifices that are made, throughout our service. We've witnessed. Some are personal, some are external by witnessing others go through sacrifice. So, what's the hardest sacrifice you've made that people would never see, but would completely change how they view your role?
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So, line six of our Sentinel's Creed is my standard will remain perfection. And we take that to the extreme. So we strive for perfection in not only the outside performance that you're seeing, but in two other pillars that we're tested on constantly, which is our knowledge, which culminates in memorizing 17 pages of knowledge verbatim, which is the history of the unknowns and a lot of cemetery knowledge and history of the old guard as well. Then that third pillar is our uniform. So we spend hours and hours working on our uniform to make it perfect. So when we go out in front of the public and are representing the army and the best of the unknowns out there, we are perfect. And we go down to those nitty gritty details. So we spend hours shining, the unit windows on our unit citations and getting all the little scratches out, something that the public will never see. But we spend hours doing it because when we go out there, it's not about us anymore. It's the most selfless job that we can possibly have. So us being perfect is just us paying another level of respect towards the unknowns. And so it's the small stuff that we do that goes unseen to everyone else, but we see it ourselves. So it's shining the shoes every day, rouging different things on our uniform, polishing different items, and really resetting every day so that you take your uniform apart, take all the metals off, repressing it, re-steaming it, and then putting it back together, measuring down to a 32nd of an inch on all of the uniform items, just to have the perfect uniform for your next time you're out in front of the public. So those are kind of the biggest sacrifices, but it almost doesn't feel like a sacrifice because we're doing something that we're so invested in and that we're so committed to that the sacrifice seems so small in comparison to what we're doing and who we're representing, those unknowns who've given their whole lives and their whole identities for our country to be where we are today.
And I know that all that you guys do up there is an iceberg effect, right? There's so much that goes on underneath that people don't see. We get the finished product, and believe me, I was wowed at even having served and led people in uniform and things like that. You're just wowed at the perfection, right? You said perfection part of the it is perfect. The whole evolution, the whole change of guard, the uniforms, how everything's presented, and so you guys have done a real good job in keeping those things that are unseen behind the curtain for the common citizen to enjoy as you're going through your whole regiment there. Now, there's a lot of legacy in the Arlington Cemetery. I remember visiting the first Mick Pond's tomb, and then I looked around me, and there's just so much more
Right.
around him, and with so much legacy around you, I can't help but think that it's something that you guys think of as you're doing your procedure there. When you're walking the mat alone, what thoughts hit you about the lives, the names that we'll never know?
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes on out there, and as tomb guards, we spend a lot of time up close and personal with the three unknowns that we guard. One from World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. We also symbolically look over our Vietnam missing in action. So we had a Vietnam unknown, and he was interred in 1984 and was disinterred in 1998. And so since then, that middle crypt out there on the plaza is empty, but it's been rededicated. So it says honoring and keeping faith with America's missing servicemen, 1958 through 1975. So we're protecting the unknowns from each of these wars, and the selection process for these unknowns, they would disinter a number of candidates, and then they would rearrange the caskets so you didn't know what theater they came from, or what cemetery they came from. So the unknowns were truly embodying all of the unknowns from those various wars. And so when we're out there, we're not just guarding one person. We're guarding the thousands that are out there, and so it weighs on you. It's it's overwhelming at times. When especially when family members are coming there, people are still mourning today from either their fathers or grandfathers from wars from World War II, and we get still families from Vietnam War who have their family members missing in action. So our mission still very much has an impact, but the impact also from the World War I unknown is still very much present, because these are the individuals who have laid down their lives and identities to help us get to where we are today. It's almost celebrating 250 years as a country. So that always falls back into. I always think about that as I'm out there, especially in the middle of the night when we're guarding the tomb. It's just us and then the three unknowns out there. So we have this special relationship with the unknowns that you'll never get unless you're a tomb guard. So we're the extra buddy to them, who's never going to leave their side, regardless of the elements, regardless of what's going on in the country. And we've been doing so since 1937 and 24/7 ever since. And so that's what I think about is them. I think about their families, and like, I'm here to pay respect to you, and any way I can honor you and give you thanks through what I'm doing is why I'm here. And a big part of our job as tomb guards as well is to share their stories. So to make sure that the American people never forget the foundation of our country, and those who've made the ultimate sacrifice for us.
The true definition of no one left behind, right? I imagined as you were speaking about that late night, no one else, just the guard and the service members, right? It really warms my heart that we've gone through all of the effort to ensure that these era type of service members that are unknown and their campaigns, those campaigns that happen, those wars that they're representing, that we are not leaving their side. As a service member, it really touches my heart to know that happens 24/7. Now, it's a great sign of what citizenship is in America. But from what you witness every day, what are most Americans missing when we're talking about what it truly means to be a citizen?
Yeah. So of course we're next to the unknowns who've given everything for us. So it's like the epitome of citizenship is they've given everything for our country. So I think a lot of people struggle with they ask what the country can do for them. So it's the we experience the opposite of that. Like, what can we do for our country to help make it better? And so as we get further and further from these wars, it's so important to remember that these great generations who have given so much for our country, and as citizens, it's our duty to give back to the country as well. And that doesn't mean you have to go join the army tomorrow and serve, but there's a number of different ways to do it, and that's you can do it through volunteering. You can do it just from simply like talking to different people, different organizations, and we work a lot with the Gold Star mothers as well, and spending a few hours with them will definitely change your perspective on a lot of things. And it's organizations like that really make it really easy for me to give back, and I know that citizens can find organizations like this to easily give back. I'm just really fortunate to have the opportunity to work with these organizations and really see how many opportunities there are to give back in different ways.
I agree. And, having spent some time with families that have lost their service member, that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, you realize how minuscule our problems are compared to their current situation, and how blessed we are to even be going through some of the issues that we're going through, as tough as they may be in comparison to the realization their life right now as they're going through it and living it. So thank
Absolutely.
you for exemplifying what true citizenship is there as a honor guard, and representing us all. Now, if somebody get wind of this episode and they're listening and want to know more about your role at the tomb or how to support the tomb of the unknown soldier, how would they do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can look up the Old Guard website, and you can find out more about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. We also have our society, so the Honor Guard Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Society, and you can see all the Tomb Guard names, learn about our history, and we're a very close knit organization. So if you reach out, you'll get a response too from them. We also do tours of our quarters, and you can sign up through the Old Guard website as well. And we're happy to share our history with you and show you what kind of inside life of tomb guards are, and what we do every day.
Well, thank you for all that information. We'll make sure to have that as part of the show notes for folks to be able to get in contact or schedule a visit. So thank you for that. Folks, for more information on the foundation, please visit us at our website, activevaloraward.org. And on behalf of the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, thank you all for joining us on this episode.